So how's it all going over in Italy?
Yeah, it's last week was interesting. I flew in on a Tuesday, drove to Italy on the Wednesday because I couldn't fly into Italy, so that was like a 13-hour drive. Arrived here, can practice got cancelled on Friday, and we had racing Saturday, Sunday. So I had to learn the track the morning of racing, which you're obviously a little bit wary of not burning yourself out by doing a million laps, but also you want to learn the track before you race. So wasn't ideal practice, obviously, but I actually felt alright come racing. Stacked UEC, like a European Cup, it was stacked. So I felt like I did okay considering, but definitely not what I wanted. So hopefully this weekend is a little bit better.
How'd you go? You got fifth in your 16th finals?
Yeah, both days, which, like I said, it's not what I wanted, but I didn't really have the best build up, so it's all right.
So to have 16th finals, there must be a ton of riders there.
Yeah, 130 elites both day, obviously both days, which is crazy. It's like a World Cup, and it was mental.
Be made up mostly of Europeans, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no Aussies. I think Caroline's the only Aussie, and she only arrived this week. Heaps of South Americans actually, Colombians, Argentines, um, Brazilians as well. But yeah, mostly Europeans. But man, there's so many.
So I did see that Twan and Eddie had a big fall, and it looks like both of them are heading home rather than racing the World Cup this weekend. Were there many big crashes like that?
There actually was a few crashes. Like the track, that was another thing. Like I watched heaps of videos before coming here because I obviously wanted to know what it was like, and it looks big, open, but it's actually you're not. It's actually quite the jump's quite small and very technical. So it was a bit of an adjustment in my brain to get used to that. And yeah, there was a lot of crashes actually. Um, I think it was Saturday, maybe Sunday, that like every single race there was an ambulance and a stretcher, and there was just delays after delays. Some of it was because of the wind, but also it's quite a technical track, and not a lot of people had practice. So maybe all those things combined, but yeah, it was quite technical.
What's the general vibe like? It's been 15 months since the last World Cup, and people must be excited to get out there and ride.
Yeah, it actually seems like normal, to be honest. It seems like we never left. There's no masks when we're practicing. Obviously, you've got to wear a mask all the other times, but when we're on the track, it just seems like normal. There is a noticeably lack of spectators. Sorry for the moving camera. Um, they're quite strict on who can come in. Got to get a COVID test every other day. Things like that. It's obviously different, but when we're out on track, it's the same old, which is cool.
I did read all of the COVID protocols, and yeah, I think there was a limit of only a couple of hundred spectators for the weekend, and the testing, basically you couldn't enter the area unless you were tested, and yeah, it must make it tough to have all of that other stuff to contend with, not just a normal old race meeting where you rock up and do your thing.
Yeah, normally you got to worry about registration or something, but this weekend you've got to worry about COVID tests before practice days, getting a PCR test 3 days before racing, and then COVID test on the day of as well. And I mean, they're not cheap either. I think the last PCR test was €90, which is probably $150. So they're adding up, and yeah, it's just part of the new world, I guess.
Have you heard any news on protocols and if things are a bit different down in your next stop? What is it, Colombia?
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen heaps of stuff online about riots and stuff in Colombia. I've spoke to a few of the Colombians, and they seem to think it's all good and ready to go. But I don't know if you've seen the Olympic selection stuff that came out. They basically stopped all individual qualifying as of March last year, which rules out any chance for people like me of qualifying, which is a bit of a kick in the guts to hear that a couple of days after arriving before racing. It definitely changes your mindset, I guess, around why you're here. I was always here to race, but there was a bigger reason behind it, I guess, where when that gets swiped away, it was like, oh, shit, why am
Yeah,
I during global pandemic.
I guess there's two sides to that now, isn't there? Because you don't have that pressure of trying to qualify for the Worlds, so you can for the Olympics. I mean, so you can also, do your own thing without that additional pressure.
Yeah, definitely. That's one way of looking at it. Maybe not the way I was looking at it. It was more like I never felt the pressure to qualify for the Olympics. It was more of a chance, and I was thriving on it. It was like, well, like I'm in contention to potentially qualify the Olympics, which to me was an awesome thing in itself to be able to say that I could potentially get a spot here. So yeah, I didn't really feel the pressure, and to have that sort of taken away from me, it's like, oh, I was really excited to give this a crack, and I really felt good. And I guess the weekend was maybe some of that as well. Like it was like I was ready to go to war, and then something got taken away, so maybe I wasn't ready to put it all on the line that early on. But now this weekend I've had 2-3 sessions on the track, and I feel like a different rider, which is crazy to think I haven't rode on the track on the weekend, feeling that underprepared, but you just deal with what you got at the time. But I'm excited for this weekend. I feel a lot better and over the jet lag.
How's the forecast looking? Because you had both events rained out on the weekend.
Yeah, they were rained out, but weirdly enough, like the weather was perfect all day, both days, and then just in the evening we had thunderstorms, and UEC decided to run both elite races in the afternoon, so we caught both of those storms, which got cancelled. This weekend is looking fine, and every single day this week's been hot. It's been like 20 plus, which has been nice. I was expecting a bit of winter weather coming over here, but no, it's been good. I heard Italy is typically quite hot, which I have never been. So,
have you had a chance to look around Italy at all while you've been there?
Yeah, a little bit. Like Verona, the city we're in, is quite small. So when you head into the township to get some food or something, there's a big coliseum and lots of old buildings, which is cool. And Monday, day after racing, we cruised over to Venice, which was about an hour away. And yeah, that was pretty nice as well. But other than that, like I've been training every other day, so I just want to do my thing and rest up and get ready for the next day.
I was going to check if it's a bit of a ghost town, given the whole coronavirus situation.
Venice was. Verona, it's not so much. I guess there's more people living here, so they're just going about their normal life. But Venice is probably more of a touristy town. That was a ghost town, big time. But honestly, I like when I came here, and I still am. Like I'm super cautious about obviously COVID, but I can definitely see how it spreads. Like people are so blasé to all the restrictions and everything, and everyone touches everything. And I mean, yeah, you've got a mask on, but it doesn't stop it. So it's pretty crazy over here. It definitely makes me grateful for what we have back home.
Actually, I did notice that it was a smart start, not a smart gate over there. So
Pro start, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Pro Start. So that'd be the first time a UCI event's been held on a Pro Start gate or any gate other than a Pro gate.
Yep. Pro start, yeah, instead of a pro gate. I did hear David Graf talking about it, and the World Cup was supposed to be in Stuttgart originally, and that got cancelled due to COVID. And I think Verona were the only ones who put their hand up and said, "We'll have it." And yeah, obviously the facility not having a pro gate was a bit of a roadblock, but at the end of the day, they were just like, "We need to have a World Cup, so whatever gate it's on, we're going to have it." And to be honest, I don't even notice a difference. It sounds different, the gate drop, but it's fast and yeah, it seems good. So I'm happy.
No failures.
No failure. So it's an electric one. It's not a compressor that's throwing it down. It's an electric one, so I guess it's more likely to fail. But
well, they've got a few of them out here. Shepparton has one on its amateur hill. They've got one of each. So they've got the Pro Start on the Pro Hill and the Smart Start. It's too early in the morning. I can't think properly.
Pro gate on the 8 meter and the Pro Start.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, the only real difference is you don't get that noise when it releases.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've ever had a failure on either of them. So
That's good.
um,
Everything here seems pretty good. I mean, I spoke to Caroline the other day at the track, and she said it's quite lippy. And a few of the Americans have said the same thing. Maybe that's from where they've come from. I can definitely see what they mean, but like it's quite a good track here. So hopefully it's going to have some good racing. The corners are huge, very, very bumpy. But fingers crossed we'll have some good racing. We didn't get to see the weekend's racing play out, obviously with cancellations, but I think there'll be some good racing.
So how are people going to be able to follow the racing? I did notice that the old systems of live BMX TV is gone. So now you've got to watch, I think it's got to go to the Olympics website and watch it live through the Olympics website. But what about all the rider stats and all of the up-to-date finishes and all that sort of stuff? Even the entry list, I haven't been able to find a link for that. Have you seen anything?
I've got the entry list just through group practices tomorrow. I haven't seen an actual entry list. So this World Cup's going to be run a little bit different. This is the first time they've ever had an under 23 category in the men and women's. What was it? Live stream. So yeah, the Olympic channel is going to be, I think it's the Olympics.com is going to be live streaming it. Obviously it's the first time, so unsure on how it's going to be worked, if it's going to be pre-recorded and then put together as a show, or if it's just going to be live streamed. I guess we'll have to wait to see on the weekend, and hopefully it's a good job. I think Sinead Reed's going to come over and do some commentary for them, which will be good. She's a former Olympian herself, obviously, with some great knowledge. And then in terms of the stats, I don't think they've told us who's doing the timing yet. Obviously, normally it's BMX results where you can find all the times and results, but I'm not sure, because was that Tissot timing that used to do that? I think it was, and they've stopped. So yeah, and on the weekend we had JS timing come in, and a lot of dramas there. So they're not doing it either.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's the first weekend of a lot of changes, so I guess we're just got to play it by ear and work it out as it comes.
So from what you were saying about the Olympics coverage, with Sinead Reed coming in, she would never have come in on the older setup. So does that mean that there's an entirely new crew?
Yeah, unfortunately, like I really liked listening to Rich Eames from England. His commentary is a really good insight, and he's a bit of a BMX geek himself, which is cool. He knows a lot about every rider from every country, really, where they've got rid of him and Jason Richardson, which, yeah, like I said, I thought they were cool. Yeah, I think Tori Nyhag's not coming either, so there's another aspect of the show that's gone. But fingers crossed they do a good job, and
Yeah,
I mean, Sinead Reed's a pretty good addition to the team, so hopefully it's cool.
like you said, massive background, having competed at the first Olympics, multiple world champion, and she was coaching at Shepparton. I noticed her getting around at Bathurst as well, and I recognised her face straight away, but she looks so different.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not, like you said, she's been coaching for the last couple of years, but I'm not sure on her like up-to-date knowledge of today's riders. Obviously in BMX the riders are changing quite a lot. Obviously there's a lot of staple riders, but yeah, there's a bunch of new riders, and I'm not sure she's up to date with everything. Maybe she is, maybe I'm wrong, but someone like Rich Eames was so good. Like he's following everyone on Instagram and keeping up to date with literally everything. So to me, he was priceless. But there's a new team in.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
So I did notice one of the videos you ran as a story, you were actually getting quite a good gate start. Is that something that's sort of come together for you over the last 15 months?
I guess I'll tell you after the weekend, but no, I've been putting a lot of effort in, especially this is my first World Cup on the new bike, which I've always thought that the prophecy was definitely better at the start. Yeah, the one on my story, it was a really good start. My starts are feeling really good, but it wasn't with the top guys I plan on racing on the weekend. In saying that, they were quite fast. No disrespect to those guys, but it wasn't with the likes of Twan and Sylvan and Graf, etc. But no, they are feeling good, and yeah, I'm really hoping to see if I can put my nose in the mix on the weekend with my starts, and then make it a little bit easier around the track.
Is there anything about this event, like the way it's run, that sort of stood out for you that's a bit different to events in the past?
Oh, the UEC on the weekend, so all the kids, all the challenge riders were run in the morning. So I'm not sure whether they did that just for COVID, but we'd never see them. So all the elite riders have to be tested before they enter the facility, where the kids didn't. But I thought that was quite cool. It'd be a good chance for the kids to do their racing and then just go chill in the grandstand. Which I think we need to do something in sort of Australasia to sort of separate the kids and the elites, because half the time they can't even watch the elites and don't know what's going on, and it's not a big enough show, where I think it needs to be a little bit more of a show. Not so much for the elites, but for the kids to realize like the elites are this pinnacle of our sport, and one day I want to get to that show. A little bit like they do at Grands, how they put on the night show, and I guess every kid wants to be in the night show, but we kind of get blended into everything else in BMX, which I'm not sure it does the elites that much of a positive thing.
I'm totally with you. I think watching the elite, for one, is way more of a spectacle, so it should be treated as such. And if you had, I think BMX should be free to a certain point, but then watching the elite guys, they should be charging money. There should be a way to say, okay, these are the best guys in the sport, and they deserve, a couple of extra dollars. And the promoters shouldn't be taking the money for themselves. They should be putting that back into the pro guys. So, depending on how many people they get to watch, they could afford to pay for, a feature rider to travel or something like that. I always thought that that's one of the things, an opportunity that BMX has missed out on, really putting those guys on a pedestal and making a big deal about it. I mean, America do it pretty well with the Pro Spectacular at the Grands, but I just think there should be more of that everywhere, basically.
Yeah, definitely. BMX is, I think it's the coolest sport for the fact that the kids can mix and mingle so easily with the pros. But on the other hand, it kind of does us a little bit of harm, because it pulls us down a little bit, because we're just another person to them. And at the end of the day, we are just another person. But in rugby and soccer, and you never get a chance to meet your heroes, so they become almost more of a hero because they're harder to get hold of. And in BMX, we've got to do that a little bit. These World Cups shouldn't be, for one, so accessible to anyone. Like you could come race if you wanted, and it's almost too accessible. And if that means that I couldn't race, then so be it. There'd have to be a pathway for me to get in, but it just makes it more prestigious, which I think we need to do. And I think that there's lots of ways we could make BMX a little bit better, but it's who's going to put their hand up and do it, or who's going to listen.
Yeah, it's not a. It's one of those things that you wouldn't get a reward for, making these kind of changes, but it'll certainly make a big difference in the future. One of the changes you were mentioned before was the under 23s class. I did see that this year it's not being scored, and you can sort of flip-flop between the two, which is it's a good way for people to sort of dip their toe in the water and see if they actually want to ride at that level without going straight up against the best in the world. And I guess even someone coming back from injury who's in the younger age groups that might not want to get into elite straight away, but still want to ride the big track. It gives them that opportunity. But does it water down the whole elite thing?
Yeah, well, we've still got 110 elite guys on the weekend, and a lot of those 110 will be the top guys. So I guess it doesn't water it down. It's probably more where it should be. But in saying that, I've got mixed feelings about the under 23. I think a World Cup should be a World Cup. I'm trying to think, because lots of other sports do an under 23 and it works, but maybe in BMX, I was thinking we should have done an under 23 at the European Cup, and for the World Cup, it should be a World Cup. But maybe that's just me being sort of back to the old, and I liked how it was, in the sense that it was everyone versus everyone. But we'll see how it goes. But I mean, in the junior woman, not junior, under 23 woman, there's 10 riders, and I think that's a little bit of a pitiful number. I mean, there's 2 girls that are going to miss out on a World Cup final. Like, to make a World Cup final should not be that easy. So personally, I don't like that side of it, but maybe it will help us grow in the future, and if that's the case, then that'll be cool.
Well, it's probably the women that need the opportunity to grow, more so than the men. So I guess even 10's better than 5. You know, it's and hopefully those numbers will grow anyway.
Yeah, fingers crossed it helps it grow. Yeah, I did hear someone say it's going to stop the likes of Neek and Sam doing what they did at 18, 19, but I'm pretty sure you can jump straight into the elite field if you want. I haven't read around it too much, as it doesn't really affect me, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I reckon both Nick and Sam are very unique individuals, and given that you can choose between under 23 and jumping straight in with the elites, those guys are at that level at that age that they would just have jumped straight into the deep end. Still have been just as successful.
That's true. I guess for me, like, growing up, I always wanted to get into the elite field as soon as I can. I think when I went to Aussie, I did 1A pro race. I didn't even know what the difference between A pro and double A was the first time I went. I think I did one. It was when the gate didn't drop. And then I'm pretty sure straight after that I went to double A. And that was just to make that jump and get comfortable in the deep end as soon as I could. So, and I mean, it happened the same at World Cups. And I don't know if I'd change that, but yeah, like I said, in saying that, I'm just saying what I've grown up with, and maybe that's not the best thing. So we'll see.
Going back to when you rode A Pro and the gate didn't drop, was that in Orang?
Yeah.
That video went viral. That was on Ellen.
Yeah, I know, that went on Ridiculousness, Ellen, and it went everywhere. But I still can't believe that. I still can't believe that they didn't rerun that, and they said that. I think they said the guy in lane 1 flinched, so we all reacted and flipped it or something.
The gate actually dropped early and then stopped halfway or something, didn't it?
Yeah, dropped normal time and then stopped halfway and then carried on.
I'm glad we don't see those sorts of problems on the gates at your level.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
All right, I don't have much else for you apart from wishing you luck from everybody. And we'll be watching on the Olympic.com website and hoping that you progress through and the weather holds out for you.
Yes, I'll do my best, see how far I can get.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we can catch up with you after round 1 or round 2, depending on how busy you get and how late it gets for you. But yeah, we'll catch up soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll catch you later.
Thanks.